Masters, masters, masters of change.
Hello there. Welcome to Masters of Change. My name is Kim Kunio and I'm the head of music at the Australian National University. And I'm here with my good friend Charlie Hogg. Charlie is the director of the Brahma Kumaris here in Australia. Welcome again, Charlie.
Thanks for having me, Kim. It's wonderful to be here.
So Charlie, we've been doing this for a while now, having these spiritual discussions. And one of the things I love about it is we get to, it's sort of like we're surfing a wave of consciousness, you know, to think about how we can evolve as beings. I'd like you to just express what that wave is to you before we get into today's episode. What's your journey, please?
You know, I think my journey is an unfolding of sort of my true self revealing itself to me, and I've felt that that journey is really the more I suppose I let go and let God, I feel that this wave of beauty, this wave that sort of is of peace sometimes, contentment sometimes, you know, sort of reconnect with these beautiful feelings. And it is like a wave, it's a lovely feeling that, and it just feels you're sitting in the right place, you're coming home to where you really belong in life, you know. It's not, home isn't a physical place, it's sort of a place of truth, where when I sit, there's a comfort, you know. I feel, you know, when you feel comfortable, you feel so relaxed about who you are. You just feel completely relaxed. You just don't feel I have to be anything or do anything or look good. I feel quite comfortable because I've found this home in me, which is my place of truth, comfort.
Charlie, that journey sounds pretty good to me. And I think quite a few of our listeners would say, look, I would like to do the journey, but... And so I've wanted to do today's episode on one of the biggest buts I could think of, and it's the but. I come from a religion and I'm very religious and I don't want to lose my religion to take on your spiritual thing. You know, it's easy to make it sound simple, but I think this is a very, very big issue for many of us.
Yes, it is, Kim. And I think that I feel at the heart of spirituality is a deep and real respect for every tradition. Because when you look at these great traditions of the world, they've had thousands of years of extraordinary input and extraordinary service to the whole world. And that's where I feel that I really love all the traditions. And actually, just before we started, Kim and I were sharing a little bit, and I was sharing that I was living in the meditation centre, the Brahma Kumaris meditation centre here in Sydney. And I think there was 7 sisters in the centre because this incredible organisation is led by women. And I think in my memory 2 of them were Christian, 2 Hindu, 1 Muslim, 1 Buddhist and 1 Jewish. And I think that said so much to me that we are one world family. Each tradition has its own sort of specialty and flavour. But a true spiritual practitioner can learn from everyone, absolutely everyone. We might have our fundamental practice which we take from, but to me at the heart of each religion is to give respect to everyone. And I never in my life could compute why, you know, one may feel our way is better than your way, because yes, it may suit me more, but every tradition has tremendous value.
Charlie, your words remind me of that great moment when Swami Vivekananda attended the first Parliament of World's Religions in the late 19th century. And he started by saying the sort of thing you say, sisters and brothers of America.
Yes.
So his fundamental teaching from the East, when it really came into contact with the West, was that we are all brother and sister souls.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful thought that, so maybe on some level soul consciousness is the start of this journey to understanding and appreciating our religious past.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Kim, because one of the things I felt our common religion is peace, you know. Maybe we could say the religion of the soul is peace. And when the soul steps in a body, it will be born in a Christian or a Jewish or a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh family or whatever it is. But, you know, the souls are one family. We are brothers and sisters. And I think all religions have this concept of a world family. You know, the brotherhood of man, all these sort of concepts, because we are one as souls. But if, you know, when I forget myself and I get too much perhaps into the ego of my body, then this whole thing of I'm right and you're wrong starts to kick in. And actually it's built out of insecurity. You know, the more, if I don't feel insecure, I can say, you know, I can really appreciate others and their beliefs. But when I feel insecure, then that's when I feel threatened by difference. You know, and that, unfortunately, it seems in our world now, people are so threatened by someone who looks different or thinks differently or practices something or wears robes that are a bit alien to what, you know, my life has taught me.
Really what you're saying is that there will always be some people who are exclusive.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the fault of their religion.
Yes, that's true.
That's just their destiny as souls on a journey. Some people really want to believe in that type of a world. But within every religion there are so many outward-looking people who are craving this universal experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had a thought when you were talking, just even about my own life. You know, I was born into the Jewish religion, but when I traced my family's roots, I found connections, deep connections to nearly every other religion.
Yes.
And I think this is also, never mind the reincarnation story, but even if we just look at parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and go back, we will find that people from our families have often interacted or married people from other religions. So the notion of a perpetual exclusivity, to me, it just doesn't seem to exist, Charlie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, you know, Kim, my life experience, you know, I went to university and, you know, I was just learning so much about our world. And I took a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia. And I spent a few years literally with no particular plan, which was amazing fortune. And I found I was always ended up living in religious communities. So I lived in a Gurudwara with the Sikhs. They take in travellers. I learnt a lot. I lived in a Taoist temple, sleeping on the floor. It was a concrete floor. That was challenging, but still. I lived in a Buddhist monastery. And would go around begging with the monks. I lived with Muslims right through Ramadan for some months, you know, that whole period of time. I went and lived where the Dalai Lama is in India. I went and bathed in the Ganges, you know, and really all of it I found so enriching because I could see the inherent beauty in each tradition. But actually, interestingly, my question at that time was everyone talked about peace and love and God and all sorts of things. But my question was, how do you really experience it, not just believe it? How do you move through a belief? Because sometimes when it's just a belief, it's a bit superficial. So my belief is this, your belief, we're different. And so, but actually when you go down underneath it to the experience, that's when a commonality comes. Because actually I think the ultimate result of all paths is to bring experience back into the awareness of the human soul, that I am a peaceful soul, I am a loving soul, and really happiness is in my intrinsic nature.
It seems to me that silence and meditation are the great linkages to all traditions. But yet maybe if you come from a religion, this is maybe the beautiful part of the garland that the Brahma Kumaris can add. Because for myself, like Charlie, I've had so many experiences. I actually have my second PhD in comparative religion. I was so interested in the world's religions, I did a PhD on them. but I can say that I learnt nothing there that I couldn't have learnt through meditation. And actually I learnt it better through meditation. And so my feeling was, having really studied the world's religions, when I came to the Brahma Kumaris, Charlie, is I'd never been around an organisation that took meditation so seriously as such an integral part of daily life. Why is that the case?
Yeah, because I think that I really love the way the Brahma Kumaris have that ethic that when we change, the world will change. And meditation is sort of the avenue, I would say, to convert ideas, knowledge, truth into a practical experience in life. So that you're sort of, to be open, I think I found the Brahma Kumaris' absolute emphasis to practice my spirituality, not just believe it and even teach it, but to live it. Now, we all know that's not so easy sometimes, and we're definitely, we're not all perfect at that, but the real emphasis is to not just preach it and believe it, but actually really engage it and try to become it. Because I find that really when you really absorb it, you'll have respect for everybody. And even if someone who disagrees with you, that's fine. They have every right to disagree with me. It works for me, but it doesn't mean it will work for everybody. And I love that we don't have to feel that you have to think like me. And if you don't think like me, why not, Actually, I love variety. I absolutely love variety. And even within the Brahma Kumaris community, the fact that, in Australia we have, large groups of Christians, and even with that, some are Catholic and Protestant, and large groups of Jews and people from Buddhist backgrounds and Muslim backgrounds and Sikh backgrounds, even Parsis, let alone many Hindus, and all different, traditions within the Hindu. I love it. I absolutely love that we all come together. We let go that I'm right and you're wrong, and we're just one family, and we consider ourselves a part of the human family.
Charlie, I'd like to dispel one of those myths that sometimes people, think that might be the case. If I'm a religious person from one of these beautiful religions you've described and I'm interested in the Brahma Kumaris, do I have to give up my religion to meditate with the Brahma Kumaris?
No. And Kim, there was one wonderful...
It's a silly question too, I must say. But,
no, it's not.
But at the same time, we need to ask it, I think, because it's a fear that many really decent, beautiful people have. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, don't be sorry, because when you said that, I was remembering this wonderful man, a Yorkshireman from the UK who lived here in Sydney, and he had one of the oldest churches in Sydney, some hundreds of years old. And really he was a true Christian, and because whenever I went to his home, he had taken in the underprivileged, the people living on the streets, the prostitutes, you name it. He would really care for those in society who are doing it really tough. He really was an incredible man. And he used to come to Mount Abu with us every year and meditate with us. And yet he still ran his church, and even sometimes we would go and conduct meditation. So he really, he found that he would often say to me that what I've learned is really to have this loving connection. He used to call God the governor. And he used to say to me, Charles, I was talking to the governor this morning. Quite sweet, But he really, really remained in his tradition, and I think he always felt too that it enriched his own personal journey.
Charlie, one of the things I love about spending time with the Brahma Kumaris is the deep and, I guess you say, never-ending respect and love towards Hinduism, because the Brahma Kumaris comes from India. It's an Indian organisation that's now all around the world, but yet it comes from a country where the majority of people are Hindu. So there's a huge awareness, particularly of Islam, within the Brahma Kumaris. But a lot of the Hindu festivals are celebrated really lovingly. Could you tell me a little bit about how that happens and why it happens?
Yeah, because I think whether it's even the Hindu festivals or we try to go to the real seed of what was the origin of the festival, because I think sometimes festivals, in the contemporary world, we go through the motions, and as we know, really, Christmas is this extraordinary festival based on the life of one of the greatest prophets in the world, but perhaps in its contemporary frame, it's a very materialistic sort of. But there's a good part of that because people just love to come together. Often festivals have just become. But what I've really loved, whatever religion, the BKs try to go back to the essence of the meaning of this festival, and really most of them, I think, are built on some presence of God in life, and to remind us of that really life is about our inner world and our spirituality. And if the festival can take us back into that, so it's not just the sense of community and the sense of coming together, which is a beautiful part, but really the sense of they're there to remind us of truth and spirituality and to uplift us and often to take us closer to God.
Charlie, that's really beautiful. I've got a slightly curly question for you. Now, as we know, India, I often describe India as the most remarkable and the most hurt of all countries at the same time, because it's just truly, I think, the most amazing country in every regard. But it does have a very deep caste system. That there's still a lot of injustice in the caste system. So I want to ask a really simple question that you will be able to, again, dispel maybe a myth that some people think. Can you be any caste and become a Brahma Kumari?
You can be any caste. And I mean, you can come from any background, any culture, any colour, anything, really. Because I think maybe in India the caste system is overt. In other countries it's covert. People are born into privileged backgrounds and others aren't. And okay, we could go into the depth of the law of karma, but fundamentally I think soul consciousness is about respect of the other. And I think the deeper you go into it, ultimately, and you feel the connection with God, inherent in the whole thing is to respect the other, even if they have a diametrically opposed belief to me. That's okay. That's absolutely. Why should I feel threatened? Why should I feel threatened? Why can't someone believe something different to me? And I think it's, I really, whenever anyone says to me, I don't agree with what you're saying, I say, you have every right to. That's okay. This works for me. I'm not saying it has to work for you. Because I can understand when something really is meaningful to you, you love people, you want to share it. But when we push it or we proselytize or evangelize, that's when it really, people find it difficult. And that's why really, Kim, the most powerful form of service is to be a good example. Just to be a good example. Rather than sort of preach through the mouth, it's better to be a good example in your face, your your vision, the feelings you give, your smile, your behaviour, the way you interact with people is really the most powerful message.
I think you've defined inclusivity very beautifully for us, Charlie. And really I think it's the heart of all religions too. In the heart of all religions we see this inclusive vision of humanity, that we are all the same. But what you're saying is, regardless of what our religion, or regardless if we meditate or don't meditate with the Brahma Kumaris, we all have this same potential to look beyond caste and creed and race and gender and stereotype and any form of division, to see that we really are the same, to say that all of us can be Mother Teresa in one sense, and to take the most suffering of the world and see them as our equals. This is very, very beautiful, I think.
It is. And Kim, when you were saying that, look at the last few years in our world, the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the sort of whole movement of normalizing disability, the age movement. I feel there's a real yearning in the human spirit. Don't label me for what my limited body represents. Because unfortunately the world has developed this culture of labels that based on color, religion, gender, whatever it may be. And what I've learned from the Brahma Kumaris is when I meet somebody to really see the soul, and it's not that I just see a face and imagine a shining star. When I feel I'm a soul sitting here, it's almost like you zone in, there's this subtle frequency of connectedness. I sit on my throne, and then my throne has a lot of labels. You sit on your throne, but actually souls are souls, and the bodies, the thrones, I'm referring to is this body. They're different, but the souls are intrinsically connected and one family. And when we learn how to see the soul, that sense of belonging and that sense of harmony is just sweet feeling. I think harmony is one of the best feelings in life, when you feel harmonious, working with others in a harmonious way, even though we're very different and we think differently and we express different points of view.
Charlie, this has been such a sweet conversation for me, because it just makes us all remember that we must be the welcoming people.
Yeah.
No matter who we meet, no matter what their story, if there has to be someone to welcome them for who they are, why shouldn't that first someone be us?
Yes.
And from that, the benefits we will get as spiritual beings or spiritual practitioners, whatever we call ourselves, will happen. And you've also dispelled a few things, maybe a few sort of hairy myths about life with the Brahma Kumaris. You don't have to give up your religion, do you?
No.
You can go along to church or synagogue or to temple. You can go and study with the Dalai Lama and then come and meditate with Charlie. It's all fine. But all that is asked of you is that when you define your journey, you really commit to it. Is that right?
That's right, Kim. Yes, that's lovely.
So on that note, I'd like to ask you to take us on more of this beautiful journey.
Let me reflect on my intrinsic self as the soul, the spirit, the Atma. The Atma means I, the living, the dweller in the body. And in this incredibly sweet feeling of soul consciousness, this gentle feeling of inner peace and contentment, I look at the world through the eyes of a soul. And I see such a variety in our world. A variety of beliefs, a variety of religions, a variety of colours, a variety of cultures. But I see beyond the limited variety, and I see the world as a family of souls. No matter the gender, the age, the background. When I sit lightly in my forehead and I experience how I, the soul, see through my eyes, hear through my ears, I express through my mouth. And I begin to see how others are doing the same. We are all souls, and understand our original nature. The nature of every soul is peace. We can say that peace is our inner religion. And when we have this sense of belonging based on soul consciousness, I'm not threatened when I see someone who looks different, or a soul that expresses a different belief through their mouth, because we fundamentally know that we are all souls, and as such, regardless of the labels of the body, we are loved children of God. Om Shanti.
Dear friends, whatever you have been or are, however you define yourself, you are welcome. If you are Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain, Jewish, Christian, agnostic, atheist, pan-religious, nature lover, believer in UFOs, you are still welcome. Because this is the spiritual life. So Charlie and I say to you what we hope you will say to all others, that on some level, if we really believe this simple teaching that we are the soul, how can we not fail to make every other soul equally welcome? And from that, we will change so deeply. We will become inclusive. We will become the teachers and the healers and the people who bring others together. So it's my great wish, and Charlie's, and everyone at the Awakening Channel, and from all the Brahma Kumaris, that all of us fulfill this great spiritual destiny. Om Shanti. Thank you, Charlie.